Today I'm just being very grateful and thankful that we covered 30 days of a composting challenge. I have to say and admit thanks to Cynthia and a few others who have been circulating these links on registering for Save the Soil, Save Earth, or hashtag Save Soil. So, well, yes, when somebody is going and presenting it and there are a lot of followers and all, it'll make a huge difference, no doubt. But my question, time and again, comes back to just that one thing. Um, is it enough if just we vote to something and sit idle? Or do we have to do something in our own little way to make a huge difference? In a very teeny tiny way. It does make a lot when it comes in a bigger way. So in that aspect, I must admit, I never knew I could do this. I was only uploading a little bit of my composting videos as to what are the things that I used to do, what all failures I faced in this last 8 years. And well, we made a community of its own. We did a 30-day challenge last month after seeing this, and I must admit I never expected over 180 odd people coming together as a community across the globe and making that difference, in their own little way. So I'm really, really, really grateful for that. And let's dive into the top cream frequently asked questions that came in these 30 days, which I'm just compiling from the group there. And of course, by the end of the 30th day, we were only 108 members, but that's okay. As long as we can create that wave of awareness to people as to why it is important and why we are doing this, that is the most important thing. So just a moment, let me take stock of what were the top three to start with. All right. So yeah, the first and foremost thing that came up in our community was each of us sharing our own, compost bins and asking this question: is my bin healthy? So the first question, of course, let me, if you're new watching this here, then we did a 30-day challenge and I had done a 30-day playlist of different forms of doubts and new things that we could learn and grow. And that playlist I will leave in the description box below. But for now, let me just explain that, which you can refer below. We take one thing at a time, one step at a time, and get going. So we shared based on people following that. We did share with each other our compost bins as to how it looked, and the doubts that came from there was primarily, is my bin healthy? In the initial days, am I doing it right? It's more like, am I in the right path kinds. So the most important thing was, when it comes to that doubt, is the proportion of the dry waste and the wet waste that we go ahead. So initially it has to be 2:1. So one portion of wet waste versus 2 portions of dry waste is important there. And when it comes to, let's say, adding a lot of wet waste, which is more like watermelon or water based foods, peels of those nature, then we'll need to be adding more. So that is where the healthy bin concept came, and a lot of us shared, which was beautiful to see. And for the healthy bin, other than the healthy bin, the next set after about 2 weeks of or the third week of composting process. Once we crossed that second week, mostly the area or topic came up is worms. My bin has worms. Is this right? We were doing this online, and so there's no way we could see each other. We were in different parts of the globe, and we are still in different parts of the globe as we speak right now. And so, worms is another thing. Yes, there will be worms that can come, particularly maggots is a very, very common thing that you will see. First thing you need to be bothering about when you see worms is, or first check that you need to be doing is how much of sogginess or water content is there in the bin, which means you need to add more dry waste, more leaves or newspapers or something like that. So that will also lead to too much of worms, which is self-created from within it. So when it's creating from within it, first thing you need to check is if you've been following those steps, these things, these questions came up based on the steps that they were following on all those 30-day videos that were shared, which is very much currently available on the playlist, which I will definitely leave in the description box below, because after going through a lot of processes myself, tripping, falling and learning over the last 7-8 years. So when we followed these steps to the tune, people never found issues of a foul smelled bin, which is a big success in my opinion, which means you won't feel like doing composting in the first place, unless you're a person who's dedicated and still wants to come back, pull up and do it. When we have so many things running in our minds and so many things that is chaotically happening in the world around us, giving time for such things, you will really feel like, oh my god, it's giving a foul smell, why should I even do it? So having said that, let's continue to the point on worms. So worms are good, are healthy if it is self-generated from within. Only thing we need to be worrying is the bin having any cooked food by mistake? So if there's any cooked food that has been added into the bin and the worms are created because of that, or because of dairy products or meat or something like that, cooked meat, then yes, we have a problem. We need to completely shift and make this, because this is an aerobic composting we are talking and discussing about, and in this process we cannot add those things. It goes into bokashi kind of a composting process. So right now what we are talking on FAQs is purely on aerobic composting, and the next thing, as far as worms are concerned, it will come, it will leave on its own as long as we keep stirring them. And the next thing is, again coming back to the first one on healthy pot, which is dry waste, wet waste combination. So mostly the pot will be soggy. That is when you will start to get worms. So it's perfectly okay, just keep adding some more dry waste and keep stirring them. So worms it is. So there are two types of worms that we saw in this 30 days. One was maggots, and the other one were those very tiny flimsy ones, a little whitish color. So that's okay. The moment you see them, you don't need to worry. Add some more dry waste and keep stirring them. And of course lots of air flow has to be there in your bin. So that's the next thing. So what was the third one? Yes, again, my bin is soggy. Now this soggy thing comes normally after the second or the third week once we start composting. Now why do we even feel it is soggy? We need to keep transferring it into more, see, it's like this. We, let's say there's every 2 days once we are clearing our, let's say, our dustbin at home. Imagine after about 3-4 days, if you don't clear your dustbin, what's happening to your dustbin, right? it keeps overflowing, you have to keep changing. So is the case here. Once you start this process, one pot or one compost bin is not sufficient. You need to keep expanding at least to 2 to 3 minimum, because after a month's time, once you start harvesting, you can keep using the 3 as well. That's why if you see the different types of composting pots that is being sold in the market, also it will have a 3 tire to it. So what happens here at this stage after the second or the third week is, normally what you will see very simply is, we have started to put the compost or keep adding the same amount of, what am I doing? Sorry, I'm just making some sun-dried tomatoes. So if those of you want interested in knowing that, because it's summer, the northern hemisphere here, so I will leave that in the description box as well. So yeah, coming back to composting. Um, Sorry, where did we leave? Yeah, soggy bin. The second, third week is, we keep adding our compost or the wet waste. Sometimes we forget to stir it. Sometimes we or probably sometimes we just go ahead and keep adding some more of wet waste, thinking tomorrow I will do a little of adding the dry waste. It's already late, I have to go to bed, have to plan the next day, the cooking, the meal process and all those things. So sometimes we do add. In fact, I also do the same mistake of just dump that. I did that yesterday, honestly. Added on that wet waste but never added dry waste to it, and thought I will stir it today. So at that time, what happens when I'm just going on adding some more of this wet waste, there will be sogginess. Instead of going into the next bin, I keep dumping more and more and more onto the same bin. So automatically there will be sogginess. So what we have to do is, when the first pot is, or first bin is 3/4 full itself, because we need space to stir, we need to move to the second bin and restart. Set the first bin aside. Then every 2 days once is where what you will need to even stir. You don't need to bother too much, because after about a week or so, that will start to decompose so well. It will give you the smell of fresh rain, the topsoil which has got through a fresh rain. That is the kind of smell. I wish there's a 5D for me to showcase that to you. But hey, so leave that first pot aside. If you're going to be pestering and bothering with the first pot even after a week by adding more and more into the first pot itself, then we will have this soggy problem. The question that I ask is, it's soggy, but does it have a foul smell? Reason for asking that is, foul smell means by chance, by mistake, some cooked food has gone into that bin. So that is how we need to handle the soggy bit. So once the second one is full, move to the third one, by which time the first and second you can merge together after 2 weeks. So the next bin is available for you to continue. So this is as far as soggy bin is concerned. And what was the other one? Yeah, of course the topic of composting directly into soil did come up. But right now I'll leave that aside, because that's a different topic on its own. The entire process of its own is different. We can do another video on that if you're interested. Then came a few things in this process which I kept deferring. So I must admit, thanks to this entire group, I used to say, okay, some other day I will do this composting process of this coconut shells, coconut meat, and also thanks to this group for initiating me into that process as well. So those things I have tried and tested, and of course I have shared the video for that. Yeah, another point that very glaringly came up is a couple of people who quit, saying I have had bad experiences in composting and I do not want to. Well, I have nothing to say there. Of course, I have had bad experiences. It's taken me years to get to where I am right now. And in 30 days, if none of you found any of those issues, is because you just directly followed, like, following somebody who's already paved a path. And when I started, I didn't have any of these communities or something that I could gel along, or didn't know it even existed in the first place. So I had a lot of issues. I had to literally dump many of them away. It had foul smell. I did the mistake of adding. So what? I don't need to add. Okay. So tea. When I make tea with tea leaves and milk, I shouldn't add them. So I had to restart the entire compost bin. So I have done all those mistakes, and after that is when I have shared all these content. So I'm glad and happy so far, all of you who have shared your videos with me on where your compost bin stands and all. It really means a lot. So yes, if we give up, this is not happening in a small space. We need to learn and move and grow. But if something else is working, good for you. Do share that in the comments below, so that even I will learn. And of course, last bit was a lot of people who quit from this 30-day challenge. They said, oh, I have so many other things, there's no time. Yes, there is no time. There are days that these things happen, but ensure to create time back again, because as I keep saying, you know instead of throwing your wet waste into the dustbin this side, you're just going to drop it into a compost pot this side. Yes, it involves a bit of stirring occasionally, it involves a bit of adding dry waste and all. That is a little bit extra work, no doubt, but in the long run, you're adding as a community, you're making a difference to the world at large, and for the next generation, and of course for your own self. This composting that we do right now is going to help the topsoil right now. Okay, this manure that is going to come out, if you don't use it again, that also goes for a waste. Let's understand that you have to give it to somebody. If you gift this manure, use this as a gift, as a manure, to somebody who really loves gardening, they will bless you from the heart, inside out. Okay, because no amount of all those materialistic gift is going to make any difference to such people. When they are into gardening and all, they'll be like, wow, you've given me natural compost, is going to help grow the plants and all at my home. So that is another way of gifting your compost manure, because it has to go within a particular time frame back into soil, whatever pot composting we are doing right now, so that you are going to benefit. It's not even for the next generation. That is an overall next thing, overall aspect of saving soil overall, instead of just putting a carpet of what do I call that? It's not even stones, concrete, right? And obviously, all those things that we learnt about birds and air traveling and taking the seeds from one place to the other and germination happening, it basically needs soil. So that's a different topic altogether. But for now, when we do this kind of pot-based composting, it's not even the future generation. You are going to benefit out of it right now as we speak. So you can make your own, soil ready. You can make your own small kitchen garden, or you can gift it to those people who are actually doing kitchen garden. They'll be more than happy to peel off some of those greens and give it to you as a return gift as well. So saying that, create a little time. Create a little time. It's your own way of giving back to community. And thanks to each and every one of you who joined in this 30-day composting challenge last month, and a warm welcome this month to the Earth Month, April being the Earth Month. And yeah, I'm just full of thanks out here. Saying that, signing off, and thanks for patiently being along with me as I'm doing my uh, sun-dry tomatoes. So these are going to go into my sun drying today. and tomorrow, and they're going to be ready for pizza, pasta, sandwiches, whatever. That's another topic on its own. If anybody interested, do mention. I will do another video on that, because a lot of people who think they are having sun-dried tomatoes and sun-dried this and sun-dried that from the market, my dear friends, I don't think they actually go through a sun drying process. It's just a heat drying process that goes, which means the necessary nutrients from the sun into that food item is lost. And there's no point crying and saying, oh, vitamin D is lost, oh, vitamin D has to come, oh, my dear sun god. Or, maybe they called sun as God because they knew it has the necessary vital prana nutrient or whatever. I'm not getting into that right now, but while it's supposed to be on composting, I have the habit of talking more, don't I? All right. So happy composting. And if you're in any place where it's time to sun dry, please look up for sun drying recipes, not just from my channel or whatever, wherever, however. If you also know, do mention in the comments below. As I said, I'm open to learning. And see you in the next video. Till such time, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and do keep sharing this kind of a composting challenge. You create your own group in your own community in your own way. You can start this in schools. They'll be more than happy. There's also vermicomposting. It's the same stuff, just that you add some farmer's best friend called the earthworm. And the worm castings are supposed to be, worm casting is nothing but the worm's potty, okay? In simple terms to understand, the worm will eat all this and then it will leave behind its potty, which is supposed to be even more, the process in the worm that goes through and comes out is supposed to be even more effective and nutrient to your plants. So I haven't had the privilege of doing that yet. When I start that process, I will do share that as well. So for now, what I have tried, tested and worked, that's what I'm sharing. Bye bye.